Let's say hello and good morning to Pashupati Advani now to get a better understanding of market fundamentals. Pashu, good morning and thank you for joining us. What's going on in the world?
Well, not a lot, obviously. No, actually, what has actually happened is, first of all, nobody knows how to spell India anymore. I think they've kind of forgotten, and I think that's showing because our market has slowly been going down. The other thing is that, a lot of the sort of emerging markets have got affected because, unlike in 2008, I think this time around, each government is acting on its own trip. And, when Turkey raised its rates by 5%, Argentina has suddenly dropped the peso. The last time around when there was some kind of a crisis brewing, which I guess people feel that there might be, there was, some kind of consensus between governments to make things happen slowly. This time it seems to be, a different world. So I think each government is just looking at its own really micro, really short-term space. And I think a lot of that has got to do with a number of governments are changing this year. There are a lot of elections in a lot of countries this year. So they're trying
so will we. So where are we positioned?
Well, we are positioned that, people want to, as you know, the currency went down by 13% last year. So everyone is saying that, if it repeats again this year, how are we going to perform? And therefore, we'd rather wait for the currency to take a big drop and then perhaps look at India again. And I think that's what the concern is. But because I haven't found anybody who's actually said that the currency looks like it's going to appreciate versus the dollar. So until we get some kind of a buy-in on that, I think that investments will be slow to come in.
3 months from now or 6 months from now, when people look back, do you think this mini scare would appear more transitory, more like cyclical and more like transitory in nature?
Of course, markets have always been like that. I mean, people say India is a stock-specific market, but again, it's a stock-specific market with a 13% currency drop in 2013. And, you don't get paid, unfortunately, for, the return in rupees. A lot of people get paid in the return in dollars, and I think that's what's...
Every time you come back from America, you become bearish.
Of course.
You stay here for 3 months, you become bullish.
Yeah.
I've noticed this about you.
Well, obviously, it's the air around us. No, but I'll tell you honestly, I've just had a visit, and there is a lot of gloom and doom, and particularly because of what Turkey and Argentina have done, and there are concerns about some emerging markets again getting out of trouble. These were not the same concerns that were there when Greece and Spain were having problems last year, about 12 to 15 months ago. These are different concerns that you've got wild markets. Argentina is a wild cannon, Turkey is definitely a wild cannon, and so they're concerned.
And you wouldn't buy fear?
Sorry?
You wouldn't buy fear? You wouldn't use this opportunity to buy into the market?
Well, as I say, if I'm greedy, yes. But no, I think there's still some downside. I think it's happening slowly. And I'd rather, but again, I would say that any kind of company that benefits from either domestic consumption or on exports, those are the ones to watch.
For the moment, US Fed has decided to dial down asset purchases. Given what is happening to their own economy, what is happening to other emerging market currencies, can they dial up asset purchases? If they dial up asset purchases, liquidity problem is solved.
Yeah, well, of course, but I think that the new Fed chairman has just taken over 2-3 days ago, and I think it's going to take about 3-4 months for her to put her stamp on it and to actually take a decision as to whether she wants to continue to taper or whether she's going to stop. I think what has happened is that the amount of toxic assets that the US had to buy is kind of dried up. So I think that's part of it. The toxic assets are still on the books. So, it's still to see what's going to happen with that. I mean, you buy an asset at 30 years at 1% interest, and then it's got a lot of time to turn around. So hopefully these things will get better. And, as in anything else, the real estate is going to drive the economy.
So what happens to US growth / dollar related stories, IT, and the kind of weakness that we've seen in IT in the last 2 trading sessions? Is it a trend which has begun, or do you think this is just a one-off profit booking?
No, I think that this must be a one-off profit booking, simply because I think that in this space you are still concerned about the currency. However, in the case of people are coming into IT, but the multiples have perhaps got a little ahead of themselves, and I'm gathering there's some rebalancing in the MSCI also, as well as the Nifty. So that's going to probably increase the weight of IT, I'm guessing, rather than remove it. So who knows? I think that there has been some money taken off the table, but I think there's generally some redemption fear in EMs. So I think that's taking, and the profits are in IT stocks. So
Pashupati, how come nobody is noticing the Indian macros. Indian macros have improved. CAD concern that is really behind us. The fiscal deficit clearly is under control, and the spectrum auction has been a hurrah for the finance minister.
Well, I think what I said a little bit earlier is the following, that India has been forgotten. Before, India was being slapped as being a bad country, because it had a huge current account deficit and the fiscal, everything was out of control. The controls have come in, so now we've gone into the sort of forgotten territory. Forgotten but not ignored territory. So I think that people are thinking about India, but not thinking about it to dive in. Thinking about is what are the long-term positional bets that we can take.
So the love affair will only start after elections?
Even later, because I don't think sure, a nice election with one side or the other would be nice. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. It looks like it's going to have a lot of horse trading. So people are saying, there'll be opportunities during the horse trading to maybe come in. And the currency will also get hit at that time because there'll be no control at the top.
You need to spend some more time in Mumbai. You need to get used to traffic and then you'll start liking India again. You've just come back, it seems.
Well, no, that is true. But I think the real issue is, even if you take Mumbai, the holes are being dug, but who's filling the holes? We don't have enough Enrega.
True that.
It takes me 15 minutes to drive in the morning. And it's only a 2-kilometer ride.
So next time you walk, you'll get thinner.
What are you buying and selling?
No, what I'm buying and selling is more of the same. I think the consumer story is still very much intact. I think the IT story is also very much intact. And I think there is also going to be some consolidation in things like power and telecom. Telecom looks, I like Idea, for example. I think that's a good stock. A lot of news has been built in, but I think the fun is yet to start. And there is going to be further consolidation, and from 8 players we're going to come down even further. And I think Idea benefits because they've gone for data as well. So, as people migrate, as people start using more and more smartphones, all telecom I think is going to be good because it's a domestic consumption story. And I just give you an example that Reliance has done this deal for iPhone 5S, and a lot of phones have gone out the door. So that's also telling you've got migration of people from regular phones to data phones, and that can only increase the ARPUs in time to come.
That one increased big in the last 2 years. I was just looking at the Idea ARPUs. Okay, the direction is northward, but 160 has not become 250.
Well, I think with data it will come.
Okay.
It's a migration. I don't think in voice we can squeeze very much out except by tariff increase. But I think as people migrate to data, and the cost of adding the data infrastructure is not very much because I think it's already there.
Pashupati, I won't insist on a day trading idea from you, but what was your last purchase?
Well, as I said, I'm not going to say what my last purchase is because
Idea?
I think SEBI will put us all in jail.
You can give a disclosure.
No,
that's allowed by SEBI's law.
Well, fine. No, I think the ones I like. See, again, I think it's going to be big is beautiful. Unlike most others who think that small and mid caps are going to be the savior, and I think one should be looking for a turnaround for something like Grasim. If there's any kind of move in the economy, Grasim is a stock.
It's a holding company. Why would you buy a holding company?
Because all the businesses will start firing.
Pashupati, what is your take on Tech Mahindra? It's up 86% in last 1 year, and despite this 80% run-up, it is still trading at 11 times based on FY15 estimates. For a company which is growing at 25% plus, do you think it deserves a higher P multiple?
Well, obviously, and I think that's what's reflecting it. And, there's also a rumor that it may be coming into the Nifty, in which case the multiple will go up. So the combination of that and the good results have actually made it pop up about 3.5%, 4% this morning.
Yeah, 58 rupees up there, go 3% up. Would you be a buyer at 1823?
Well, I would assume so, simply because if one, I would actually be a buyer at 1875 if it went into the Nifty.
Do you want it?
No, I don't.
So if you want to be a buyer at 1870...
I wish I don't Satyam. Sorry.
So what's stopping you from buying Tech Mahindra? You're bullish on it. You think it is a cheap stock. So what is stopping you from buying that stock?
No, simply because I think there's a very heavy weighting in IT, in the general indices. Again, the question is, do you want to be in Infosys, Wipro, TCS, or do you want to be in Tech Mahindra? There would be some shifting, but I think that a lot of the larger players have stuck with the Infosys and the TCS for now.
Are you touching banks at all, or is it a pocket you're staying away from?
At the moment, I'm just staying away because I think that there is still some more blood to come out. And I think, with SBI having got its infusion and all these, the government putting money into all the banks, that's going to help things. But I think it would be nice to see some real loan losses taken rather than these restructurings that are going on. Because they're kind of hiding the picture.
And you think it's murkier when it comes to the PSU lot?
Well, slightly. I think that, obviously the HDFC banks and the ICICI banks seem to be doing well and seem to be a little less tarnished than the PSU banks. But I think that there has to be a mood change for people to buy PSU banks, and I think that has not happened yet. And I'm a follower, I'm not a leader in that space.
Are the China fears slightly overdone? The fact that China is slowing down is not new news. That is yesterday's data. How come markets are reacting to this news bit suddenly?
Well, it's what I think is, part of what I said earlier, that every country is acting on itself.
Yeah.
China is giving this news, and we really don't know what that news actually means. And, whether according to me, they're disguising their economic intentions. So whatever happens, that's also like a rogue in the sort of BRIC model. Because, you go back 3-4 years, the BRICS were actually talking about as some kind of a trade bloc, or, some kind of whatever you want to call it, a grouping. And now China's on its own trip. We are sort of trying to do what we are doing correctly with our new RBI governor. And Brazil is, in a mess, and Russia's got internal strife problems. So it's crazy what's going on.
Are we the best in the BRIC, and does that mean we'll get disproportionate amount of inflows?
Well, I think so. I think that most funds who are supposed to be in emerging markets have got us on the minimum. But I think that's gradually going to change as the markets go down. I think the natural weighting will just increase it.
What's your take now on Jubilant Foodworks kind of names? Inflation sensitive, consumption related stories, numbers are petering down there. Is consumption is now tiring out?
See, I think that it is showing a slowness in the economy simply because, people used to not think about spending, 300, 500 rupees on a pizza, and now are perhaps going to think about it. I think as people conserve, they will go away from places like Jubilant, and and it was at a crazy multiple anyway. It's what is it? Even now, if with bad earnings, it's now at 60 multiple probably.
No, 45.
45.
F515. Time-wise correction has kicked in.
That's like a dream. So therefore, I think that the Indian public is also getting smarter and saying we want Indian priced pizzas. And it's happened in every other space. It's happened in Indian telecom. Why should it not happen in Indian
Domino's
pizzas?
pizza still come for 100 rupees. I love the brand there, Pepe Paneer.
When was the last time you ordered? It's 500 rupees.
No, you order the small size, including taxes.
That's one bite, Nikunj.
Yeah,
that's a one bite pizza.
Some of us who are big eaters. Yeah. Anyway.
No, but I'm saying that, like telecom also, we have come to the lowest common multiple and had good rates at least for voice. Likewise, we want to have an Indianization of pizza, like McDonald's has done it in the hamburger space. The Indianization of the pricing of pizza is going to, obviously have an effect. And you've got domestic chains also coming up. So, they're also copycat, you can call them, but they're providing the same quality at a lower price without the brand name.
So no Dunkin' Donut fancy, buying into it right now in anticipation of what Dunkin' Donut is going to do.
Yeah, I'll just give you an example of, let's say this clothing department, this Charles and Keith. Okay, in India they've got
shoes, by the way.
Shoes. Yeah, shoes. Basically Charles and Keith in India has got a half a dozen stores which are struggling, and in China they're opening like one store every month, one store every week almost, and they're like houseful. So obviously there's some difference in the models that you can't take the same model. We want Charles and Keith at an Indian price. We're not willing to pay the Charles and Keith price. And I think that's what the differentiator is in working with India versus working anywhere else.
Shopping a lot. Keep talking about brands.
I don't even know what Charles Keith is.
I'm going to just stay away from shopping and your luxury habits to talk about something boring, which is Reliance Industries. Why is Reliance underperforming? Now, the biggest caveat or the biggest trigger for Reliance is that gas prices in India are poised to go higher. If that is the story, Reliance will hit a jackpot.
Yeah, but I think in the case of Reliance, the real issue is that it's a very heavy weighting stock in our index, and most people either have it or don't have it. If they have it at 10%. If they don't have it, they don't have it at all. And I think currently there are a lot of have-nots. I think as those people start becoming haves, each of them buy large chunks. It's the obvious thing to buy in India. It's the first place of point of call. I've always said this to people. If you're coming in for the first time, that's the one you buy before you think about anything else. So, because, it's been a decent performer. It's not underperformed, but it's not startlingly overperformed. And I think that, it does represent a lot of sectors. And now when they come into telecom, it'll be another consumer sector. So
what about Tata Motors? Because that's getting a little bit tricky. China's slowing down. US is doing okay in terms of JLR, Land Rover sales. But again, domestic, we are somewhat petering down.
Well, domestic, they've got challenges domestically, and I think unless they sort those out, there's a lot of competition in all the spaces that they're in domestically, and they've got to come up with, they've released 2 new cars. I don't know what they're like, but The auto show is going on, so they're releasing it. And I guess the setback of the MD passing away is going to take them some time to recover, because he was supposedly a man with a great vision.
So you will not buy Tata Motors at 343, even though it has corrected, what, 100 rupees approximately from the recent high?
No, I think, it's, again, it's to be looked at, but it's looked at as a second list. If you have to be in India, would you buy Tata Motors versus, say, buying one of the banks? The answer is yes. Would you buy it on its own? Probably not. So it's not an exciting stock that you think is going to go up, but it's sort of like it'll perform.
Okay. 52 points down for the Sensex, and for the Nifty it is a cut of about 13 points, 59.86. We are not moving exactly in line with global markets, but there is a reason why that is happening, and the reason why that is happening is because yesterday Asian markets by and large were down and we managed to buck the trend, so we today are simply aligning to global markets. It's the real global connection which matters for the moment. So Pashupati, to your mind, what will be the turning point? Will it be local? Will it be global? If global, which one? If local, from where will it come?
See, first of all, I think the global has to turn towards flows into EMs. The last quarter EMs has had terrific outflows, which has not helped matters. So globally. So once you sort out the global problem that emerging markets become somewhat a new asset class, which means that the whole asset class has to get cheaper before that happens. Or the US market has to be going up, and neither of which looks like is happening at the moment. So there has to be some radical difference. Once that is overcome, then it's India versus the other EMs. And when it's India versus the other EMs, the question is, what makes us sell? Yes, by which time hopefully we'll have political stability, we'll have some reforms coming into place, and money will come in. But if we don't, then, we'll languish at everyone who's a long-only investor being here at the minimum weight and others just taking a pass.
What about interest rates? Do you think they have now peaked out? And if there is a cut, would that be looked as a positive trigger by the equity markets?
I don't honestly think that they peaked out yet. I think there's still pressure on borrowing, and the government is also still borrowing. And this quarter, February and March, we always see what happens. So I think this time, for at least for the next 60 days, I think interest rates are going to be at these levels, if not slightly higher. I think in April it will probably turn.
Since you always have a category, a list, B list, and a C list, what does your A list contain, B list contain, and what does your C list have?
See, the A list is, as I said, it's flight to quality. I think people are just buying more of the same.
Names.
No, I would say strong IT, strong consumers. I actually even like ITC. Pharma also. Even you can even go to A- pharma like Cadila and Lupin and all, which are also starting to move. In the B list, there are some old jewels that I have. Like I have Godfrey Phillips, which is again more of the same, but smaller and more illiquid, and I've had it for a long time. So there's no C list at the moment. It's called in the bank.
Okay. Nice answer. Great to have you on 89. I certainly look forward to more of you.